I'm Brian Lawrence. I'm a professor of weather and climate computing. I'm director here at the Rutherford Lab of the Centre for Environmental Data Archival, and I'm also director for the National Centre for Atmospheric Sciences Models and Data Division. Probably the most exciting things we do here are bleeding edge climate science and atmospheric science. So we do a range of things to support the national and international communities in their analysis of climate data from high-performance computing facilities all around the world. We support atmospheric scientists in aircraft and in field stations around the world. We support people doing really bizarre things with atmospheric science data in the laboratory. And so we have thousands of users worldwide who basically find data from here, and many of them manipulate data here, and that's becoming a bigger and larger role. And so the kind of things that we're interested in doing is supporting people with really big data challenges, because that's getting harder and harder to do in their home institutions, and so we need centralised support. The big change in the last few years is as we've become a petascale environment, we've gone from lots of network attached storage and many devices to consolidating onto a Panasys environment, which is going to cut our total cost of ownership and the number of people that have to spend time moving data from hither to thither, and just spending an enormous amount of time just doing stuff that's wasting time. And we can get our world-class data scientists working on the data and working on supporting the scientists rather than moving the bits and bytes around. So that's thing one. Consolidating the storage environment. We now have, for the first time ever, decades worth of measurements from satellites, but they're getting pretty big. So typically an input data set that a scientist might use is of the order of 150 terabytes. The processing jobs to convert all of that into a number that a weather forecaster might use or a climate scientist might want to feed into their model is considerable.
Before we had a difficult management job where we had an enormous number of network attached storage boxes, and we had to control what was on each one very individually. It's very difficult. You can't suddenly grow your NAS box to a huge size. You have to work out you have to buy the next biggest one. Much of our problem with network attached storage was it was chewing up people. It was chewing up sysadmin, it was chewing up data scientists, moving data around. Now we're in a situation where much of that is being reduced to a portion of one person. For a petascale archive, that's brilliant.
One of the things that we liked about the Panasys solution was that it had a single management console, and it was very flexible in allocating storage. So we could take volumes, make them bigger and smaller, provide quotas, not have to worry about recreating the file systems if it was too small, and be able to get everything from a central management console and only have to worry essentially about one quote-unquote box. Even though the system is composed of a number of individual computers, we don't actually see that from the management perspective. A lot of the data we have from satellites, numerical models, is absolutely vast, and you have to be able to keep that data long-term and pass it on. So you need robust hardware, which Panasys comes in, and you need the volume, where Panasys helps considerably. The other part of what we're doing is making it a high-performance storage environment, because we're now dealing with people who really do need to analyse hundreds of terabytes of data, and they want to do that fast. So we've already seen in the few months that we've got here people whose jobs, analysis jobs, were taking them 50, 60 hours, seeing them to 20 or 30 hours. And so that's a huge boon in time, because that now means that people can actually spend more time thinking about what this data tells them than actually sitting back watching the computer chuck. That's a big deal. We had a 2-day installation process. Of that, most of it was physical infrastructure installation. From the point at which we had 103 shelves in the rack and cabled up, it took us 6 hours to go from that to a 4.6 usable petabyte storage. So to go from 0 to 6 hours in a file system is pretty amazing. Panasys gives us the scalability, is the real thing.
The Panasys system is already helping our users to analyse the data, to process the data, and to get a better understanding of the climate system than we were able to previously.
What gets me out of bed in the mornings is doing a great job for great science.
Panasys is the way to do this.